think about meal kit companies, what do you see? Probably long, complicated recipes and subscriptions you can't escape. But with the new Blue Apron, we're doing meal delivery differently. No subscription needed. Faster, easier meals. And the same dedication to quality we've always had. Shop 100+ meals at blueapron.com. Get 50% off your first 2 orders with code APRON50. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Studies show that 100% of everybody in the world wants to curl up indoors and do nothing because it's so darn cold out there. That's why many people are turning to Bombas, whose pillowy plush slippers and warm merino wool socks have been said to be the most comfortable in the history of feet. Bombas products have been found to boost coziness by up to 1,000,000%. Okay, enough fake statistics, but could Bombas socks and slippers really be the cure? Go to bombas.com/audio and use code AUDIO for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com and use code AUDIO.
I started drinking and smoking at 14, and it was very much sort of binge drinking. That's what we did. We got into, could probably talk for hours on the reasons behind it, but it's, I think, mainly cultural. But the whole point was the weekend would come and you would go out and get drunk. You wouldn't go out and have 1 or 2 drinks or, the goal of the evening was to go out and get drunk. So that's kind of what started it off. And I don't think it's an uncommon thing, particularly in, like Australia, UK, America. It seems to be kind of what we do.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
almost seen as like the reward for your hard work during the week is to then get absolutely hammered at the week. Yeah, exactly. So I was always a binge drinker. I never drank daily. Except when I had the opportunity to. So most of the time, being a lawyer, one of the things was I had to use my brain to do my job, and I couldn't do that when I was hungover. So what I would do is drink lots at the weekend, but then sober up and then go into work. But what I found were the binges were getting more and more extreme, as happens with everyone. The intake tends to increase. And so it was kind of going more and more off the rails at the weekends, in that, I'd start drinking Friday lunchtime, then sneak out of work in the afternoon and have another couple, and then drink through the evening. Then I think one of the big changes for me was having children as well, because when you don't have children, you can wake up really hungover on a Saturday and just kind of slob around all day until you start to feel a bit better and then start drinking again. But when you've got young children, you don't have that luxury. You have to get up and start moving around.
Yeah, for me, it was very similar. Yeah, it was. You have a consequence for the first time, don't you? A consequence.
Yeah, exactly.
To your drinking.
Yeah. But my way of dealing with that was not to drink less, but to start drinking in the mornings, because I found then that would like pick me up enough to be able to start to like get through the day.
Yeah.
So my weekend binge drinking like ended up literally in just constant drinking. So it was becoming more and more extreme. And I think the other thing when you have kids is you don't get enough sleep, so you never quite recover. So it was kind of going more and more off the rails.
Yes, I remember on the Sober Dave podcast, you saying that one of the real changes was when you were on a train. Me and Lucy were chatting about it just a minute ago. You were on a train and you had a can of special brew on the way to work. Is that right?
Well, it was actually K cider, but
yes, I gave you the wrong information. I think Alan was like looking, was like, oh really? He would go, really? Wow,
what a legend! Alan's like legend.
I said he was you were on the tube on the way to work in your suit with I thought it was a special brew. Oh, it sounds better if it's a special brew.
Yeah,
can you
it wasn't the barley wine.
Better, doesn't it? Yeah. No, I hadn't sunk that late. Because special brew is 9%. This was a mere 8% cider. So that was
my fine. Gosh, yeah, that's fine.
So, a mere 8%.
Lucy and I's drinking is a very, very similar story to yours, I think, Lucy, isn't it? Yes. It's like we're binge drinkers, we were party girls, we grew up as teenagers drinking for confidence, and very, very similar style of, being passed out in farmers' fields, going cow tipping. Did you ever go cow tipping?
Never.
Yeah, you go and push cows over when they're asleep. Yeah. I didn't do it personally. Often.
Right.
Yeah, so we really resonate with your story because it is a type of progressive drinking that all of us have experienced to some extent. It's changed over our lifetimes, and it's been very under the radar sort of drinking, like we call it the grey area drinking. I call it my Pinot Gris purgatory, where we sort of fell through the cracks. But yeah, your story definitely resonates with us. Our idea for the podcast today is to break down sort of 24 hours in the life of a drinker and what happens to the brain. Lucy and I are really fascinated in that. So we're going to go through 10 points of the things. Me and Lucy came up with 10 points that we really want the answers to for personal reasons as well for our listeners. We want to find out why we kept repeating these crazy behaviours, from the first craving all the way to the hangover. So I'll let Lucy start with the first question for you, William.
Yeah, okay. Are you ready to go, William?
I don't know about that, but
fire these questions at you. Just make it up if you don't know the answer. We don't mind.
Quick fire round.
Okay, the first thing that comes to mind when you think about those drinking sessions is the thought of drinking, because we start thinking about drinking hours, sometimes even days before we pick up that first drink. And just knowing that you're going to have a drink is a wonderful feeling for a heavy drinker. But also there's that shall I, shan't I, that thinking about drinking and what you call it in your book, the cravings. Tell us about that period leading up to having that drink and why our brain is already going crazy at the thought of it.
So cravings are quite an interesting thing. And when people talk about cravings, they quite often talk about them like they're something you can't control, like they, like a bolt of lightning coming out of the sky and hitting you. It's kind of external to you. You suffer it or you don't suffer it.
Gosh, that's so true.
Of course, it isn't that at all. It's a conscious thought process you go through. And how it usually starts is you start thinking about having an alcoholic drink. And then you essentially do two things. You start obsessing about it and you start fantasizing about it. And that's when you, exactly as you say, you sit there kind of thinking how wonderful it will be to have that drink. And what you're really doing is just torturing yourself over it. You're sat there thinking about how lovely that glass of Pinot Grigio or that ice cold beer or whatever it is will taste and feel when you drink it. But the problem with that is, say, for example, you're not drinking for any reason, you suddenly can't concentrate or enjoy what you're doing because you're thinking about drinking. Now, a kind of a common one, and this often happens when people stop, is they find that, and this is what you hear a lot, I can't relax in the evening. How do you relax without a drink? But actually, the dynamic isn't that alcohol is helping you, because what's happening, take a typical evening. I don't know that many people come home from the office anymore, bearing in mind lockdown, but, you finish work for the day. It's been a stressful day. You sit down, you have a meal, you put the TV on. Now, having a meal and sitting down and watching TV and taking your mind off work is inherently pleasurable. But if you're sat there thinking about alcohol and how much you want to drink and how you're not particularly happy because you can't have one, then you're not thinking about enjoying the meal. You're not concentrating on what's on TV. What you're actually doing is going through an unpleasant kind of almost internal tantrum because you want something you can't have. And that really is what a craving is. It's that sort of torturing yourself with the thought of something. Now, the problem is then if you have whatever it is you want that you can't have, so in this situation, alcohol, as soon as you have it, you remove that unpleasant mental conundrum and you can then sit and actually concentrate on your meal and concentrate on what's going on the TV. And if you get embroiled in the storyline, of course, it takes your mind off what was happening at work. So alcohol hasn't actually helped. All it's done is cause this conundrum that's stopping you from relaxing. And then by having it, it's then removed it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's almost like really you're tricking yourself, aren't you?
Well, you're creating it yourself. Yeah, you're creating your own monster in your head.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then you're sort of sedating that monster with a drink, but you created it in the first place. It's just a like you say, it's a fantasy.
Yeah, it's a total illusion, isn't it? I mean, we do it to ourselves, and it's almost like we know we're doing it sort of deep down on a subconscious level. We know that we're creating it because we want to relieve it. That's the reason why we're creating it, because we want to drink, because that's what we're addicted to doing. So we create that monster for ourselves. Yeah. Then if we do choose to have that first drink, William, question number 2 we're going into, Why does it feel so amazing? I mean, I know we're relieving some chemicals there. There's going to be hormones involved. Like, what is going on in our bodies when we take a sip of that first drink?
And if I can just interrupt before you answer, I've never done heroin, but obviously I've watched on TV as people shoot up with heroin, and you can kind of get that sense of absolute pleasure that they're getting. I liken that to what it used to be like for me having that first sip of drink. It was just so incredibly pleasurable, even
though the alcohol hasn't hit your system, of course, because it takes probably 20 minutes for anything to be really entered into your bloodstream and have any side effects from it.
But just one sip makes us feel incredible. Why is that?
So there's a few points there. There's some physiological points and some psychological points. I've already touched on that craving, that fantasizing. So firstly, when you're actually drinking, you're getting rid of that, what I refer to as like an unpleasant mental tantrum that you're going through. But there's also a few physiological sides to it, because alcohol is a chemical depressant. It's a sedative. So it's something that decreases or inhibits nerve activity. And that's why we tend to feel more relaxed after a drink. But where the real problem comes in is your brain has its own store of drugs, hormones and chemicals, and it releases them at exactly the right times and exactly the right quantities to keep you feeling, positive and awake and well. Things you would have heard about, like adrenaline and endorphins and cortisone, all these different things. And it helps to think of it as just this massive chemical balance. It's called homeostasis, but it's like a delicate chemical balance that your brain works to maintain. So when you take something like alcohol, which is a sedative, your brain reacts to it. And what it does, it tries to become hypersensitive so that it can work under the sedating effects of the alcohol. And there's lots and lots of different ways it does this. There's different chemicals it releases, adrenaline to sort of to wake you up and feel more stimulated. But the problem is then when the alcohol wears off, that overstimulation remains. Now, if you're regularly drinking, one of the biggest pleasures in having a drink is actually just relieving that unpleasant feeling that's been left over from the last drink. Because if you think about it, your brain's set up and it's working absolutely fine, but then you introduce this sedative, so it becomes hypersensitive, and then the alcohol wears off, the sedative wears off, and that hypersensitivity remains afterwards. And during that period, if you've just had one small glass of wine, that feeling will be almost imperceptible. You'll just feel slightly out of sorts and, maybe slightly more anxious than you usually would. But then if you're talking about a bottle, 2 bottles of wine, whatever, that's when it manifests itself in like actual anxiety. You feel quite unpleasant. And that's where that term anxiety comes in, that anxiety you get when you're hungover. It's actually got a chemical basis for it. There's 2 ways you can get rid of that unpleasant feeling. One is just to wait a few days, because eventually your brain then goes back to normal. But a far quicker way of getting rid of that unpleasant feeling is to take another drink, because the reason you feel unpleasant is because your brain's geared to work under the sedating effects of the alcohol, but there's no alcohol there. So if you introduce a bit of alcohol, you immediately go back to feeling more relaxed.
Hi there. I wanted to tell you about a podcast that I think every single one of you will benefit from. It's called Therapy Works, and it's hosted by me, Julia Samuel. I'm a best-selling author and psychotherapist. I invite you into my therapy room, where I speak to either a known or unknown guest. Topics range from the difficulties of divorce, a life-changing illness, to the struggles of motherhood. Search Therapy Works now, wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to make sure you never miss an episode.
Vic, so do you fancy coming on a sober holiday?
Don't worry, we're not talking about some corporate wellness retreat with cucumber water and enforced eye contact.
No, this is a sober awkward retreat. 8 days of sun, sweat, laughter and absolutely no hangovers.
Yep, it's all happening in Thailand next October. Picture this: yoga at sunrise, writing workshops, ice baths, Thai boxing, and lots of awkward sober dancing under the stars.
It's a proper holiday with proper weirdos. Our kind of people.
Yeah. You'll meet legends who've also given the booze a boot and want to have fun without feeling like a social reject.
Come solo or grab a mate. Bring your awkward, bring your sun cream. No pressure, no judgment, just a big, warm, sober hug in paradise.
All the info is at soberawkward.com/retreats. Come and get sweaty with us, emotionally and physically, in our all-inclusive jungle resort. You'll start out as 15 strangers and leave with 15 new sober mates.
I'm not sure I want 15 new sober mates, actually, particularly sober ones.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're not invited then.
Fair enough.
Hannah Burner, are those the cozy Tommy John pajamas you're buying?
Paige DeSorbo, they are Tommy John. And yes, I'm stocking up because they make the best holiday gifts.
So generous.
Well, I'm a generous girly, especially when it comes to me. So I'm grabbing the softest sleepwear, comfiest underwear, and best fitting loungewear.
So nothing for your bestie?
Of course I'm getting my dad, Tommy John. Oh, and you, of course.
It's giving holiday gifting made easy.
Exactly. Cozy, comfy, everyone's happy. Don't wait. Shop Tommy John's biggest savings ever and get 50% off site-wide at TommyJohn.com/comfort.
Hey, it's Mark Maron from WTF, here to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. And I'm sure the reason you're listening to this podcast right now is because you chose it. Well, choose Progressive's Name Your Price tool, and you could find insurance options that fit your budget, so you can pick the best one for your situation. Who doesn't like choice? Try it at Progressive.com. And now, some legal info. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
So, as you probably know, my comedy memoir, 1,000 Wasted Sundays, is officially out. All my magnificent fuck-uppery in one awkward hit. If you'd like to get your hands on a copy, it's now available from all good bookstores.
We always say all good bookstores, don't we?
Yeah.
Are there bad bookstores?
No, it's probably ones with moody sellers.
Oh yeah, really depressed librarian folk.
Yes,
okay,
yeah,
good.
yeah. So there are probably some, but we're only storing it in the good ones.
It's only made it into the goodies.
You can also get it from all good online retailers. The print version and ebook are out now, and the audiobook will be available in March. I've been writing my memoir for 5 years. It will make you laugh, cry and cringe, and hopefully inspire a few people to reconsider their relationship with booze. If you love the podcast, then I think you'll love the book, even if I do say so myself. Hamish has read it. What did you think?
I feel like I know a little bit too much about you now, to be honest, Vic. Look, I really loved it. It was hilarious and surprisingly moving, but I feel like I've seen you naked in a literary sense.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's worrying.
Yeah. From an emotional point of view, seriously, it wobbled my teeny weeny wooden heart, Vic.
Okay.
My teeny little wooden heart.
Well, his teeny little, his wooden heart is broken. Anyway, so if you do manage to get your filthy mitts on a copy, please do me a favour and head to goodreads.com and give me a review. Doing that will help me get it out there to those that need a bit of sober support. So there you have it. My story, unwanted warts and all. Come and get awkward with me.
Not to be too demanding or anything, but seriously, go and buy it now.
Yeah, go and buy it. Go and buy it right now.
Yeah, don't just tell your friends, buy it, and then buy your friends one or two.
Yeah, don't give them a copy, buy it. Yeah.
And you know what? Don't be careful where you store it. If you lose it, you can always buy another 5.
Yeah, buy another one.
Yeah.